I'll never forget the grain in the church hall's wooden floors that morning, the way the varnish reflected the sour yellow bulbs above, as if the ground itself shrugged at what was about to happen. My shoes scuffed as I shuffled in, clay-red dust tracing back from the courtyard. Every pew creaked with bodies, neighbors, family, old teachers, packed shoulder to shoulder, the air sun-warmed and briny from the river. I was too old for a schoolboy's shame but too young to be taken seriously in their eyes. Father Bento stood at the pulpit, lips thinned in an uneasy smile. "Joe, tell us then." His voice was mild but edged with something sharper. "What is it you plan for your life now?" I swallowed, looking down at my hands, my fingers nicked and scarred from hours spent shaping spruce and maple. The calluses were ridges of something honest, something none of them seemed to see. "I want to be a luthier," I said quietly, but the word sounded bright and strange beneath the church's arches. Gasps fluttered. Someone laughed Uncle Arthur's harsh bark. My cheeks burned, but I pushed on. "I want to make violins. Guitars, instruments by hand." "That's not work," my sister Mariana spat, shaking her head. She'd already married a tax clerk, moved to a flat with steel radiators and a west-facing window. "That's a waste of education." My mother didn't look up. She folded her hands tighter, knuckles pale, lips pressed in a tired line. Uncle Arthur jabbed a finger in the direction of my ribs, barely missing. "You think you're some genius, Luthier? Play with toys and you'll be begging for bread. There's no future in sawdust, Joe." Old Senor Domings called from the back. "You want to shame your father's name? Where's the pride in such a boy?" Eyes turned to me, 100 pinpricks. My ears burned hot enough I almost missed Father Bento trying to rescue me. "Everyone, let the boy explain." The hall swelled with laughter, dark and mean. I stood there, the only upright wick in an ocean of snuffed-out candles. I forced my mouth open and tried again. My voice trembled. "It cost everything not to run. I want to build things that last. Music is." "What of your apprenticeship at the factory?" my mother interrupted sharply. "Your uncle got you that place, it feeds a family. This is selfishness, artisans starve." I stared at my hands, uncertain. I couldn't tell them about the summer I watched Senora Villa whittle a viola for her grandson, the scent of rosewood and resin hanging like old perfume in her workshop. How the body of the instrument seemed alive, how it sang even before the strings were fitted. A tear strung my left eye. I blinked it away and squared my shoulders. "I'm sorry," I managed. "But I can't not try." The silence that followed was thick and oily. When it broke, it was only for more dismissals, whispers of foolishness, laughter about the boy who'll never grow. Even Father Bento looked defeated. Pride made my spine rigid but hollow. After the hall, the world shrank. My father said little. He cut bread with heavy, rough hands and filled his lunch tin for the tannery with more force than needed. At home, my mother barely met my eyes, her disappointment grinding against me like sandpaper. The battering from neighbors was subtler, sharp in passing. Senor Domings took to patting my shoulder at the grocer's, shaking his head and tutting with exaggerated sorrow. Friends slipped away. Mila, the curly-haired girl I'd walked home afternoons, married a pharmacist and never answered my letters. Work at the guitar factory was steady but soul-draining. I swept floors, fetched glue, sanded rough necks. Never the shaping, never the voicing, never the delicate finessing of the soundboard's arch. The air reeked of solvent and ambition turned sour. Sometimes I ran my fingers over the factory guitars on the drying racks and closed my eyes, pretending I'd been the one to carve them. At night, in the cupboard-sized back room I called a workshop, I scrounged wood, offcuts from the docks, warped beams from condemned basements, a maple floorboard once discarded behind the primary school. My only company was the hush of planes on wood, the subtle language of grain beneath rough fingers, the gulp of the Tagus River through the cracked window. I failed for years. My first violin folded in on itself within days, the soundpost punching clean through the back plate. I tried again. Every paycheck from the factory bought new chisels, shellac, clamps. Violins, then a guitarra portuguesa slowly, agonizingly grew beneath my hands, but mistakes outnumbered successes. Mother pressed the factory job harder. "Be glad for steady work," she snapped some nights. "Good intention is not good bread." I didn't argue, there was no use. At night I dreamt of voices, marionettes of my family, neighbors, choir children from mass, all mouthing the same word. Ridiculous, their mouths warped with mockery, sometimes even my own lips joined in. Once, when I was 29, a small ensemble of Spanish musicians visited Lisbon. I scraped enough escudos for a balcony seat in Igreja de São Roque. Halfway through, during a cello solo, tears strung my eyes, shame and longing, and some strange hope gathered at my throat. Afterward, down in the nave, I found the cellist and begged for 5 minutes of his time. He listened, wary, as I explained my dream in stumbling Castilian. Finally, his face cracked in a tired, sympathetic grin. He pointed me to a bookseller south of Alfama, someone rumored to sell discarded German trade manuals on Luthier. I spent half my savings there, poring over dense diagrams by candlelight, fingers smudging the pages. Slowly, again and again, I started over. I lost friends, forgotten birthdays, skipped weddings, invitations shriveling out of pity. Loneliness became a kind of crucible. I learned to hear things in the wood I'd never noticed before. The way Sitka spruce sighed when it was planed with the grain, the brittle complaint of cheap glues, the timbre of silence in freshly hollowed plates. Years crept by. The factory let me go during a downturn. I fixed shoes, repaired broken umbrellas, varnished floors for neighbors, all while building, always building, stacking unfinished instruments in corners of my room. Somewhere my mother stopped hoping. My siblings visited rarely. In time, even their scorn seemed to fade, worn out by persistence. Then the turning, more a slow thaw than a sudden spring. A Swiss guitarist passing through Lisbon heard about some odd young man handcrafting Portuguese guitars. He found my neighbor's son tuning a crude guitar outside my window and demanded to meet the maker. I let him inside, hands trembling, heart thumping like a child's drum. He ran his fingers along my best guitar, feeling each fret tapping the top and back. "This is good, very good," he whispered, eyes shining. "How much for this one?" I nearly wept right there. He left me more money than I'd ever seen at once, a year's wages pressed into my palms. 2 months later, he sent a letter from Zurich saying a master violinist wanted to commission a custom violin. That was my beginnings. With the money, I bought better wood, rosewood from Brazil, maple from old contacts in Porto, spruce aged in the rafters of a crumbling convent. I moved to a larger, brighter shop near the hospital, the windows full of colors from blooming jacarandas. Word spread, teachers from the conservatory visited, asking for estimates on restorations. Musicians began to know my name. I worked 14-hour days, fingers aching, back hunched, eyes burning, but the music blossomed from what I made. Each instrument better, more resonant, more alive. Some evenings I would walk past the church, staring up at the bell tower turning gold in the sunset, heart tight with longing and pride. But I never went in. Years passed. I sent letters home, updates, notes, sometimes money. They were never answered. One autumn, the conservatory's headmaster, Maestro Figueira, commissioned 4 violins and 2 violas for his best students as graduation gifts. To my shock, I learned the ceremony would be held at the very same church hall where I'd been shamed all those years ago. Maestro insisted I come to present the instruments personally. My stomach twisted for days, but something inside me said, it is time. The day of the ceremony, I dressed carefully, a pressed white shirt, dark trousers, freshly polished shoes, trying to keep my hands from trembling. The jacaranda trees along the Bairro Alto leave purple-blue streaks along the sidewalk as I carry my case through the city, heart pounding. The old church looms from the plaza, stone pale and stoic in the bright morning. Inside, the hall is packed, students rustling in black gowns, parents beaming, teachers offering congratulatory smiles. The same wooden floors, the same yellow bulbs, the smell of wax and lilies, a detail from childhood too small to make me flinch. Closer to the front, I spot my sister Mariana, her hair pinned up in the way she does for weddings. She rests one hand on her husband's arm. My mother sits beside her, older now, her face smaller and more fragile, hands folded in her lap. Uncle Arthur sits 4 rows behind, chair creaking exactly as before. A hush falls as Maestro Figueira stands. His voice is rich, clear. He thanks the community, the patrons, the families, and then to my surprise he calls my name. Lisbon's own Joe Martins, a craftsman who has revived the art of the lute and the violin in our city. The best of international musicians purchase his instruments. Today, he presents these new works to our brightest young artists. He waves me forward. I walk clumsily, bowing my head to hide my flush. Eyes track me, some wide, some confused. My mother's lips fall open, uncertain. My uncle leans forward, brow furrowed. I open the case. 6 instruments lined against blue velvet, each shining, each hand-finished, each bearing my mark inside the sound hole, JMARTINS LISBOA. Maestro lifts one, cradles it, the students ooh and ah, fingers dancing above the lacquer and burnished wood, each of these crafted by hand, not a single factory process. And listen. He gestures. A student tunes the violin, then draws the bow across the strings. The note pours out clear as river water, rich, shimmering, the church filling up with a sound so beautiful it startles the air. The audience sits forward, jaws slack. Maestro beams. Lisbon has long needed a master of wood and string, we have one now. The applause begins, and for the first time since childhood it isn't mockery, it isn't warning, it's real and full and thunderous. I glance at my mother. Tears stream down her cheeks, hands trembling as she presses a handkerchief to her mouth. Mariana stares, blinking furiously, then tries to smile. Even Uncle Arthur, bullish, certain, immovable, can't hide the shock in his face as he realizes the meaning of what he's witnessing. After the ceremony, people gather around, students shyly asking about the woods, musicians marveling over the finish, Maestro snapping photos with a shining new camera, my name on his lips. The head of the conservatory shakes my hand. You must teach Joe, show others how to put soul into their work. I search the crowd for my family. My mother stands just beside the altar steps, hands still clasped against her chest. For a long moment she studies me, eyes roaming over every changed line of my face, every wrinkle since I left. Then she opens her arms and I go to her, heart ready to burst. She hugs me fiercely, her grip desperate and proud. I didn't know, she whispers, broken and radiant. I'm sorry. Mariana follows, voice trembling. Heard your songs played in the houses, never knew it was your hands made them. Joe, you did it. Even Uncle Arthur, stubborn to his core, claps me on the back and mutters, didn't think you had it in you, lad, proved me wrong. Around us, neighbors watch. Some I remember from that long ago morning, Senor Domings nodding, a smile almost meek. The harshest judges now study my hands as if seeing them for the first time. Some shake my hand. Others simply nod, a strange respect breaking through old certainty. The students tune and play, notes filling the church in wild celebration. Each chord strikes some lost place inside me, a memory of shame and hope, a burial and an awakening. I watch their faces as their fingers dance across what I have made. For the first time, I am not the punchline, I am not the absurd dreamer. As the sun sets, staining the nave's windows with gold, I slip quietly out into the plaza. There is still work ahead, still years, still wood to be shaped and voices to be coaxed out of maple and spruce. But tonight, Lisboa smells sweet and I know I am home. From the top of the hill, faint strains of music chase me down cobbled streets, my music, at last, spun from ridicule and loneliness into joy. And I walk home, the Tagus thick with promise, the sawdust of loss finally swept away.